Hey guys and girls, I'm James and welcome to the channel. Today we are taking a look at the Ruko F-11 Mini. If you've never heard of Ruko, well, they've been making robots for a while. Some pretty cool ones and some RC cars. And check out this cool RC tank. But a few years ago, they did release the very popular F-11. Guys, this thing had brushless motors, a multiple axis gimbal. I've had this one for over a year. It flies really good and it was very popular, but this thing's over 250 grams. And all drone manufacturers know the future of consumer drones for hobbyists are under 250. So they recently did release the U-11, but this thing's still over 250 grams. So just released now is the F-11 Mini, and it checks a lot of boxes. And you're probably thinking, why is sub 250 so important when it's only $5 to register it in the US every 2 years anyway? Well guys, there's a lot of different regulations around the world. I'm gonna go see my son soon in Europe, and I'm only bringing this drone, even though I have so many other drones, because I gotta stay under 250 grams. Because under 250 grams, you just take something like in the US, which is called the trust test. Beyond the weight of these drones, you gotta have a commercial license like you do in the US with the Part 107. So I don't wanna do that just to fly for a couple weeks in Europe. I'm gonna go up to Scotland and Ireland. I wanna get some awesome drone footage. You're thinking, well, why don't I take this one? Well, this one does have brushless motors, 4K camera, and checks a lot of boxes, but it doesn't have obstacle avoidance and it doesn't have a 3-axis gimbal. It does have a 1-axis gimbal that goes up and down, but for checking all these boxes, it's only this price point on Amazon right now. So it's less than 25% of this drone. But the main thing about this one that is really nice is it has autonomous flight features and it does them very well. So it has orbit mode, it has waypoints where you touch it on the map and it does a mission. It has follow me, does them all really well, but without obstacle avoidance, if you're not careful, you'll probably come home with something like this. So when you first start trying these autonomous missions, be in a big open field. Don't be like me, and in my last video, I crashed one of these mini drones that doesn't have obstacle avoidance by trying the autonomous flight features. It's also got really good flight times, comes with 2 batteries, comes in this really nice professional looking carrying case, great remote. The batteries are intelligent batteries. So it checks a lot of boxes at this price point, and it's nice to have options out there, especially with the sub 250 market. Guys, do you know that in September 2022, all drones manufactured have to have a remote beacon to be flown in the United States, and in September 2023, all drones are going to have their remote beacon. On some drones, it may just be a firmware update. We're not sure, but I think it's going to make a lot of drones like this obsolete. So you're going to start seeing some great prices on these older drones out there as those regulations start to come. And a lot of guys are really upset at the FAA, but guys, when they first invented cars, they didn't have stop signs and speed limits, and that was a disaster. Well, they've got to be proactive and keep the airways safe. That's why sub 250 is so important. So if you're looking to get into drones, or you've got bigger drones and you want to look at sub 250 drones, but you don't want to spend a fortune, but you want a really nice drone that checks many of the boxes, this could be a really good choice for you. It's kind of in between a toy drone and a professional drone. This isn't a toy drone. Guys, this is a really nice drone, flies very well, really good flight time, good lights, connects really well. You know, you have to do your compass calibration and your gyro calibrations like you do on all of them before you fly it. But one thing I really like too is the way this gimbal is protected. Guys, the way these gimbals stick out on so many drones, when you crash it, that's the first thing that breaks on them. And to repair it costs more than what the drone is worth. That's going to release a lot of fear when you're flying this drone and you see that this camera is almost completely protected by these guards around the sides. So let's go put her up in the air. I'll show you how well all the autonomous flight features work. Then I'll sit down and go over the interface with the app and how all the functions work and how to get it up in the air. If you want to skip past all that and just go to the final review after you see the flight, you can. It'll all be stamped underneath. And as always, if you got something out of this, please like and subscribe. Hit that like button. It helps the algorithms, which helps me to make more videos like this one. So let's go put her up in the air. This first time I've ever had it in the air.
So this is a GPS drone, so it's going to use the satellites to hold its position, especially after you get the calibration on the compass set correctly. And the first time you ever put a drone up in the air, don't just fly away. Don't even use the camera the first time. Just get used to how it yaws and spins and turns and rises. They all come down a little bit slow. So I'm out flying it around a little bit, getting used to the sound of it, because each little drone will have its own little quirkiness to it.
Oh, I'm in speed 1. There's 2 speeds. There we go.
That's one thing I don't like about this drone is on the controller, you have to push down on the right stick to go into speed 2. It's not a button or anything like that, and it doesn't even show you on the app. So if it doesn't seem to be flying around very fast, be sure and push down on speed 2.
Oh, you know what? I think I'm in beginner mode.
And then I realized that in the settings I'm in beginner mode. I thought I said it before, but I guess I didn't hit save.
Let me check settings.
So if you first take off and it doesn't seem to want to be flying around very fast.
Yep, I'm in beginner mode. There we go.
What beginner mode does is it keeps it from flying too far away from you. So if you are a beginner, leave it in beginner mode. But if you want to fly more than like 20 or 30 meters away, go into your settings and change that. So that's a good point to familiarize yourself with the drone and the settings, and especially the interface with the app before you even fly the drone. And I'll go over all that next. One thing that really gives you peace of mind when you're flying a GPS drone is that no matter what, you can always hit return to home and it'll come back and land pretty close to where it took off, usually within a few feet. So if you ever lose sight of it, you lose control of it, or you just start to panic, you can just hit that button and it'll come back.
So this is going into the wind.
So as you can see, it's got a lot of power to go into a heavy wind like that.
That's
with those
good,
brushless motors. Your toy drones have the brushed motors, but these brushless motors, they really help in windy situations. They take a lot less power, there's less heat. So here's the autonomous flight features. I'm showing you from the app. It's coming back to us at 1080, so the view on the app is really pretty good. So it's called fly around. It's point of interest, circle mode, whatever you want to call it, and you hit it and it just starts circling. You can set that parameters in the app. If you look down to the right, it's recording. I have my height set to 52 feet, which is taller than all the trees around me. But my suggestion is go to a big open field where there are no obstacles the first couple times you fly this drone. But this is great practice to do stuff like this on a drone that's so inexpensive. So I canceled the fly around and I'm going to do GPS follow. So the other day I did do GPS follow on my bicycle with this drone. It did great, but I don't even want to show that to you because I don't want you to wreck your drone. I want you to start out like this, just walking around or walking your dog. And if you use it, just remember there's no obstacle avoidance. So if it's following you and there's something in between you and the drone, it's going to hit it because it's following the remote. It's not following an item like some of the drones. It locks into a certain thing that's moving around, but on this one it's just following the remote. And if you ever try to do any of these features and they don't seem to work, check your battery level. See, right now I'm at 80%. I've got almost all my satellites and my remote's charged up. If it gets down below, I think 40%, it won't do any of the autonomous features. So next we're going to do the waypoints. So what you do is you hit route planning and it's going to open up the map, and see that black circle? It will only do the waypoints inside that black circle. It's not going to fly outside of that circle, which is still pretty far. You wouldn't want it going any farther because then you wouldn't be able to see it. So as you touch it is where it's going to start. So it's going to fly to number 1. It's going to take off from where you're at and fly to number 1. So you hit your 1, 2, 3, 4 or whatever point you set, and then hit that up arrow, and then it'll start flying its waypoints.
There it goes to point 1. So we can see her on the map. She's going to point 1.
And to let you know, it flies at a very high rate of speed when it's doing its missions. It's going 17.6 miles an hour. So as soon as you hit it, it's going to take off. So be sure you've got everything planned out just right and there's no obstacles in the way.
And now it's going to point 2. I hope that's not too close to the golfers.
At any point during the mission, if you think you've made a mistake and you don't want to wreck your drone or hit anything, just cancel the mission and hit return to home or fly it back. Don't be disappointed that you tried something and it didn't work. It takes a little bit of practice to get these things working for the first time. But after a while, you'll start to learn it, and it's a lot of fun. And it's hard to believe you could be flying around something that costs a couple $100 that can do all these missions, and because it's a GPS drone. And DJI never put these on their mini series because it didn't have obstacle avoidance, and they're afraid they would get too many wrecked drones back. Until the Mini Pro 3 came out, but that thing's over $1,000 with the RC controller.
Here she comes. This is perfect. And it's hot outside too. See her coming back? Here she comes. There she is. Well, perfect waypoint missions. Alright, so let's bring her back. That was fantastic. Now I'm going to hit return to home. So where did it take? Oh, it took off
Return
from over
home.
there.
And just remember, when you hit return to home, if you've moved, it's not going to return back to you. It's going to return to where it took off from. But just be careful. Sometimes it can move 2 or 3 feet. So be sure when it's landing that it's not going to hit anything, especially if you took off next to an object without return to home. It'll also initiate return to home if the battery starts to get low. So just be careful about your surroundings when the drone takes off. Good thing too is when it takes off, just let it hover for a few minutes and it'll help it set its position better.
Stop, return home.
The app also speaks to you in a really nice voice and tells you certain things as she's flying. So this is what it looks like when you take the footage off the SD card that's in the drone. As soon as the wind hits the drone, you can see the horizon moving around a lot, and without a multiple axis gimbal, it's going to get that tilt. It's going to take good photos, but do remember that camera's well protected with those guards on the side. So this drone does do a lot of things really good, but taking video is not going to be one of them, unless it's not very windy and you can. So let's go inside and let's go over the interface with the app and how to get the drone in the air. But if you want to skip all that, there is timestamps below and you can just skip to the end to the review. But if you bought this drone, be sure and watch all these instructions. And here's a picture that it took. It takes really good pictures. Guys, let's see what he weighs in at. He weighs in at 244 grams. So you don't need to register it with the FAA because it's under the 250 mark. Compared to the U-11, it's 280. Wow, actually this drone is is more, of course, to the F-22 is 565. So how much is 243 grams? 243 grams is about the same weight as a 7-ounce can of chicken of the sea tuna. Yum, yum. All right, guys, you got to give it to Ruko. They have some really nice bags, really good condition, really good materials, nice zipper, nice adjustable handle. Comes with 2 batteries, and I like about these batteries is it's got the indicator light on it, so when you turn the drone on, you got to push it like a DJI and hold it down. They are 2100 milliwatt per hour batteries, pretty strong batteries. It comes with extra blades, A and B, only 2, and these are labeled. Make sure you get them on the right one. It comes with 2 really nice charging cables. Usually these charging cables are really cheap. Throwaway type cables. These are some high quality cables because the battery doesn't take one of those funky chargers. All you do is plug it in the side. The lights will go up until it's fully charged. This also charges the remote because the remote does not take batteries. You plug it in here on the bottom and the light here will be red and then it'll go off while it's charging. All right, so on the drone, this is where your SD card goes in right here. Whoops. Where did it go? Okay, SD card goes in here. There's a button on the bottom to pull the battery out. It slides real in and easy. It's got an optical flow sensor on the bottom. It folds up really nice. Of course, they are brushless motors. I gotta admit, these are some good looking drones. I mean, I really like the look of them. It's got the nice light in the front and then the lights in the back are on the bottoms. So one thing I really like about this drone, I know it's only a 1-axis gimbal and it only goes up and down. It does have image stabilization because you can see how it's like in some rubber bands. But look, as a beginner, if you crash this drone, the #1 thing that you can break is this gimbal. If you look at this DJI Mini, this gimbal is completely exposed. And if you break this gimbal, it costs more to repair it than the cost of the drone. So it's basically a throwaway. Where this one, when you're flying it around and you bump into something, you're not gonna ruin the camera. Of course, it doesn't have the 3-axis gimbal, so when you're filming, you're gonna get that shake in the horizon, whereas a 3-axis gimbal moves with the horizon and goes up and down. So on the remote, push here to take a photo, press here to take a video. This moves your gimbal up and down. Turn it on and off, your takeoff and landing button. Return to home, that's also on the app. The one thing I don't like is the speed switches right here. So when you press this down, that's speed 1 and speed 2. So I wish it was some kind of button, but the antenna is in the back. And so, to operate the drone, you turn the drone on. Like I said, it's a short press and then a long press. Turn on the remote. I always go up and down on the left. That way I can hear it beep and I know it's bound. So I'm gonna fly it with my phone, but let me use my iPad to show you how to get to the app. because it does come with a user manual and a safety guideline book. So you go to page 3, go to the QR code, put your camera on, it'll bring you to the App Store. It's the Ruko Mini, you download the app. Of course, even with the drone on, the app's not going to work because it's a Wi-Fi drone. So make sure it stays on. It turns itself off after a while. But what you got to do is go back to your settings. Might want to make yourself a pre-start checklist. Go to your Wi-Fi. You'll see Ruko F-11 Mini. Click it. Now it'll be connected to your device. Go back to the app. Hit Control. It also has instructions that you can go over also. But we want to go to Control. It'll give us some tips. So already, wow, it's already telling us to calibrate the compass. So what you do is you rotate the drone 3 times until you hear it beep. It does this easier outside than inside, but we are inside. Rotate it 3. All right, so calibration complete. Now the compass calibration is set. Now we do a gyro calibration. So it says to set it on a flat surface pointing away from you and hit calibration. Now it's all set. Vertical calibration, okay, there we go. On the app, you can use this to take off point of interest. Open this up for your GPS follow. If it doesn't want to calibrate sometimes, make sure you're not near any metal. That also includes like your driveway because there's rebar. So if you're 1 foot off the ground and there's metal in there, sometimes it won't tell you that it's getting metal interference with this app like it does on some drones, but it will not calibrate. And the reason why you got to calibrate it is, you know how when you get in your car and you start to drive and the GPS tells you to turn around and go the other way because it didn't know what was the front and back of your car. Well, you can't have that happen with the drone. It needs to know what's the front and the back and the bottom and the top before it takes off. That way, because if not, only bad things can happen. And the gyro calibration, make sure it's on a flat surface. That is so that the gyro knows what's flat. Because if the drone thinks that this is flat, it's not going to fly right. Here's where you take a photo. And you press that button. Oop. It took a picture. And you go here to take a video, press the button. This tells you how much more time you have on your SD card. The satellite signals are really bad because we're inside. Your battery on your drone, your remote. Over here's takeoff button, point of interest. And then here's where you go to your flight modes. So follow me, fly around, waypoints. You can do the lens angle with your remote. I think that's easier. Under settings, make sure it's not stuck in beginner. So go up to settings. So right now beginner mode is on because it starts off in beginner mode. So when you're flying, it won't go very far or very high. It's because it's in beginner mode. So turn it off in beginner mode. You can set your flight distance and altitude. You can set your camera settings right here, and your real-time area transmission is how it's coming back to your phone, what that looks like. The track, keep all your flight logs for you. Double check it to make sure that beginner mode is turned off, because if not, it'll drive you nuts. If you're a beginner, leave it in beginner mode then. All right. Right, here's your maps. It's not gonna work. Yeah, it is working because we're inside. So this is how you set your waypoints. So your waypoints have to be inside this circle. So if it ever seems to get lost, there'll be a straight line to where the drone is, and you can actually use the controls to fly it back. If not, just hit return to home. All right, let's go back for our final review.
Hey guys, thanks so much for watching my review of the Ruko F-11 Mini. So what do I think about this drone? Well, I think it checks a lot of boxes for a lot of people. A lot of people don't want to go out and spend over $1,000 on a sub-250 drone, but they wanted to check a lot of boxes. They wanted to take great photos. They definitely want brushless motors, because if you get into brushed motors, that's more of a toy drone, and the brushless motors will last a lot longer, use a lot less battery, and perform better in high winds. They want something that has good flight time, comes with a really nice carrying case so they can carry it around on vacation and things, multiple batteries, a good remote, a good app, very easy to learn the interface. They want it to follow and do orbit mode, waypoints, all of that for a very inexpensive price. There's not a lot of competition out there for this drone. Guys, I can't tell you how good this thing flies against the wind and everything and hold it in its position. It's just nice to have choices in the sub-250, because the sub-250 market is going to get more popular and more popular over the next couple of years, not just in America, but all over the world, because these fit under a different category of drones and regulations. So guys, as always, if you got something out of this, please like and subscribe. Subscribers mean everything to me in this channel. And hit that bell so you'll be notified whenever I release more my reviews of these drones. And thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.